So we're going to use these two functions, f and g. This says g of f of 8. Do you remember the telephone game that we played? All right, you're going to start with the inside function, which is function f. Kind of ignore this. We're going to do f of 8. You ready? Plugging in 8. 8 squared. Good, that's 64. 8 times 3 would be 24. So 64 minus 24 would be 40. So this inside part is 40, and it gets passed along to the outside function. And now we're doing g of 40. It gets passed along like the telephone game. So we plugged in 8, we got 40. And we're going to take 40 and plug it into the other function. All right, so over here, it would be negative 4 times 40. Well, 4 times 4 is 16, so that'd be what? Yeah, negative 160, good. Plus 5. So negative 155 for your final answer. I know 2 weeks went by. Are we remembering this? Plug into the inside function, whatever you get, pass it along, plug it into the outside function. Now, these ones don't have an actual number in them. We're just going to keep the x in there. All of function g gets plugged into function f. So this entire thing gets plugged in over here. Now, here's the thing. It gets plugged in anywhere that there's an x. So like both of them. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wherever there's an x, perfect. You're going to replace it with this. So it's going to be negative 4x plus 5 squared. My suggestion is just go ahead and write it twice, because that's what squared means. You're going to do a little bit of writing for this one. You'll be okay, I promise. Sometimes you have to do work. All right, and then minus 3 times negative 4x plus 5. So everywhere there's an x, you plug in the entire other function. After this, it is tedious, but not difficult. You're just distributing everything to each other. This is FOIL. First, outside, inside, last. Here we go. Negative 4x times negative 4x. 16x, good, squared. Positive because the negatives cancel. The outsides give you minus 20x. The insides give you minus 20x. So all together, minus 40x. Thank you. And then 5 times 5. 20, there, you all survived. And then here you're going to distribute not 3, but negative 3. So that will be 12x minus 15. So you get this big long string of information, and then you're going to put the like terms together. So it'll be 16x squared, and then what?
Minus 29.
Was that minus 28x? And then, I know I had to think about that one too. And then 25 minus 15, 10. Keep your hands off of that. What I get all the time is people want to like factor that. Once you get your answer, you're done. That's your answer. Just stop. Okay, don't do anything else to that. Now, when we do part C, that one's actually going to be a good bit easier. Usually when you go one way, it's a little tougher. And when you go the other way, it's a bit easier. This time, which function gets plugged into which? Good. F gets plugged into G. So this whole thing now gets plugged in over here. The reason it's easier is there's only one place you have to plug in, and also there's not a squared. So it makes it a lot simpler. So it's going to be negative 4 times all of this, and then plus 5. And so actually there's only one thing you have to do there. Instead of a ton of distributing, what's the only thing you have to do? Yeah, all you have to do is distribute the negative 4, and then you'll be done. So what is that? Minus 4x squared plus 12x plus 5. Again, once you get your answer, stop. That's it. Don't do anything else to that. There is no other work. That's all. All right. Now these ones, we're going to use the graphs. You're going to have to watch me point to this because I don't have a better explanation than, hey, look, there's the answer, which is kind of nice because there's no work for these ones. Which function would you start with for A? G, you're going to do G of 0. Whatever you get, plug it into function F. All right, so which one's G? G is this one right here. Make sure you look. So you need to find the point 0, comma, whatever. It's this point right here. Do you see it? I'm sorry, I don't have a better explanation than pointing to it. So it's 0, 2. So you're going to plug 2 into function f. 2 is like what got passed along in the telephone game. So now you come over here to function f, it's like a little scavenger hunt, and you have to find the point 2 comma whatever, and it is right here. So what's our final answer to like the whole thing? -2. And you don't have to do any work. It's great. You just have to be able to read a graph. This one we're using g both times, so just be careful. All right, g of -1 is right here. What do you get? 0. Good. Take that, pass it along to function g. This is like if you played telephone game with yourself and still messed it up somehow. That's like what that is. And then if you plug 0 into function g, we had already done that one actually, you get 2. And then C, you're going to start with function f, f of 4, whatever you get, we're going to plug it into function g. All right, so f of 4, find the point 4 comma whatever. What's that going to give us? Do you guys see that right there? 2. So g of 2. Oh, and should you write this middle step like I'm writing? Yes, because if your final answer is wrong, I can't do partial credit. And these are 2 points each. It's a point for like each step there. If it's wrong, you'll miss all 2 points if I can't like read with you. So make sure you write that. All right, and then g of 2, oh gosh, that's gonna be all the way up here. What is that, 5 or 6? 6. Table's the exact same thing, except it's even easier. You just have to find the numbers in the table. You ready? G of 4. Don't go to sleep on me already. You're going to be sad if you miss these ones on the test. They're the easy ones. All right. G of 4. Just find G of 4 for me on the table. Match up G and 4. What do you get? 3. You're going to plug 3 into function f. Should you write this? Yes. Okay. And then match up f and 3, -2. So basically, you just need to be able to read a table. It's really all that is. Here, you're going to start with which one? Yeah, f of 1, which would give you 3. Plug that into function g, 0. I like those ones. 4, what you're doing is separating it into 2 separate functions. One's for the outside, one's for the inside. So we want f to be outside and g to be inside. I think it's easier to do g first. That's like the guts of it. Don't overthink it. What's the guts of this problem? Like the inside part. Yeah, the x cubed plus 10, that's the insides. And so what's the outside function that we like plugged that into? Yeah, 5th root of x. So you're just separating. Oh, that's an awful file. Let me fix that. You're just separating it. I think it's easier to do the insides first. Let's try it again. What's the insides for this function? The 5x plus 1. And then it's what function did we plug that into to get, it's like you're being given the answer. What was the question? Yeah, 8 over x. Boy, I like those ones too. This section is like your quiz 2.0. Okay, remember what I said on the quiz. This is the harder part, but look, you can still get all of these, okay, even if you struggle with this part. So let's answer all these first. Who's your troublemaker for this one? Who are we kicking out? 6. Get rid of 6. You want everything to the left of 6, everything to the right of 6, but not 6. The square root ones, I think of them from a graphing perspective. What direction did this shift, left or right? It's kind of backwards. It went left 1. If you don't want to draw this, that's okay. It's just been a while, so I'm reviewing it for you. It went left 1 and does something like that. So what is that domain? -1 with a bracket, good, to infinity. So apply that same idea to this one. I won't graph this one as well, or I'm going to end up with little graphs all over the place. What would this domain be? Yeah, -3 to infinity. What would both of these ones look like if you graphed them? A U shape, right? What's the domain for a parabola? Yep, all reals, everything. And then this one went right 8. So 8 to infinity, which I'm sorry, looks weird when there's an 8 and an infinity, but it'll be okay. It looks like the 8 got tired and fell over or something. It's like we all feel like doing right now. All right, so do those first. And then even if you struggle with this part, like you'll be like, well, I got that half of it, okay? So f of g, g gets plugged into f. This is getting plugged in right over here. So it's gonna be 1 over square root x plus 1 minus 6. You cannot combine the 1 and the minus 6 together. Why not? I was gonna say that, but I'll ask you. Why can't you put them together? Yeah, 1's under the square root, 6 is not. So just do nothing. We love no work, right? Just do nothing, okay? Domain, okay, this was the hard part. Start with the inside function, that was g. Does g have a restriction? What does that mean? I know it's been a while. Keep it. No matter what, you're stuck with that, okay? Does f have a restriction? Hey, g of x, you better not equal 6, or else. Do you remember this? Hey, g of x, I better not see you hanging around with 6. Or else, okay? So off to the side here, not a ton of space, but we're going to take this square root x plus 1 and say, hey, you better not equal 6, or else. Do not equal 6. We're going to have problems. And then you see where that takes you and try to solve it. How would you cancel out a square root? Good, square it. So x plus 1 cannot be 36. And then subtract 1, so x can't be 35. So we want to leave out 35, but remember, you also have to keep this restriction. They both had a restriction. So it's going to be negative 1 to 35, and then 35 to infinity. That one was hard. Like I said, some of these are tough, but the whole test isn't going to be hard. It's a collection of easy, medium, and difficult questions. So that one was tough, but remember, like the rest of these are fine. That's my pep talk for you, okay? Let's try it again. G gets plugged into F. This entire thing gets plugged in over here. So it's going to be square root of x squared minus 7 plus 3. Now you can combine the minus 7 and the plus 3 because they're both underneath the square root, and it'll give you x squared minus 4. You can't do anything to that though. Okay, only the x is being squared, not the 4. It's not the whole thing. So just hands off, leave that alone. All right, here we go. Does G have a restriction? Great. Does F have a restriction? Hey, G of x, you better what? Well, you better stay above -3. Better stay bigger than -3 or else, okay? So we're going to take this function, this x squared minus 7, and say, hey, you better be bigger than -3 or else. It's the greater than or equal to. And then you try to solve that and see where it takes you. Do you remember how some of them came out to be always true? And so it was everything. It was all real. I don't think that's going to happen here, but let's see. What would you do to start trying to solve that? Like see where it takes you. Yeah, add 7. So it's going to be, what, 4? Square root. Now, square root of 4 is 2. And do you remember the little alien antenna ones? You have the 2 and the -2. Do you guys remember? I drew it for you. I know it was 2 weeks ago. I'll draw it again. Here's 2, here's -2, and it ends up looking something like this. Okay, so how do we write that? We want -infinity to -2 union 2 to infinity. Perfect. Correct. Yeah, if you plug in anything that's in between 2 or -2, you're going to get something that won't work. Here, let me show you. Give me a number that's in this no man's land. 0. If you try to plug in 0, let's see what happens. 0 squared. 0 minus 4, -4, square root of -4 is imaginary. That's why it won't work. If you plug in anything within here, that's going to happen. If you plug in anything on these edges, then it'll work. All right, last one of these. We're going to take G, plug it into F. So this entire thing gets plugged in over there. 1/2 And then it'll be this square root x minus 8 squared. Oh, we're going to talk about that in just a second. Minus 5. Do you see how it's the entire square root that's squared? It's the whole thing. That means you can cancel them. And then what would you do with the 1/2 through there? Distribute. Good. So the square root and the squared cancel. We're going to distribute the 1/2. It'll be 1/2 x minus what? Good. Half of 8 is 4. And then minus 5. So actually the minus 4 and minus 5 will go together as well. It'll be minus 9. 1/2 x minus 9. And then here we go. Does G have a restriction? What does that mean? Keep it. Does F have a restriction? Hallelujah. That means this is just your answer. You don't have to actually set up another problem. Whenever F has a restriction, that's when you have to do more work. If F doesn't have any problems, that's like, well, just let everybody in. We're good to go.